Live Healthy is brought to you by Kirk Supermarket and Pharmacy.
Okay, so do carbs make you fat? I don't know, but Andrea is going to tell us. And that's just a couple, or one example of a couple myths that we're going to touch on today. Andrea?
Right. Yes, lots of myths out there. Lots of things floating around on the internet. We wonder, is it true, is it not? So I have actually 3 classic myths that I actually often hear, and hopefully we will debunk today.
Let's debunk them.
Let's debunk them. So let's start over here.
Okay.
One of the most common ones I hear is fresh better than frozen vegetables? What do you think? Do you think fresh is better than frozen, or do you think frozen is better than fresh?
Well, if I wanted to eat on the go and in a rush, I would say I think frozen is better because I don't have time to cook it.
So it's more for convenience, you
Right.
figure. Okay, well that's a very important factor here, and that's what makes these very versatile. But so the major thing here is that our frozen can actually be a lot more nutritious than our fresh.
Really?
Yes, yeah. So the basis behind this is that when vegetables are picked at that nutritional peak, at their most nutrient dense, this is at their peak of ripeness. They are flash frozen at this time, and we get them at that peak when we use them. So that's very, very important. But unfortunately, vegetables that are destined to be shipped around the country to us are picked before that peak of ripeness happens. So this also means that the full spectrum of vitamins and minerals have yet to develop.
But I might contradict myself a little bit now, but what about sodium?
Okay, good point, good point. There are some frozen vegetable packs that might have seasoning mixes in them, but all these 3 examples, for example, are just the vegetable itself.
Okay.
Okay, so these don't have any sodium at all, but of course, if you do see one with a sauce, look at the label, make sure it is low in sodium. That would mean 5% or less of the daily value.
Okay.
Okay.
So that's one count.
That's
good for
one.
You. Good for you.
That's one.
All right.
Exactly. So another one, eggs are bad for your heart.
You know what? This is very surprising to me because I know someone who can eat up to 8 eggs in one sitting. And now it's like half and half, 8 whites, 4 whites, 4 with yolk.
Right, right.
So are they're putting themselves at risk?
That's quite a lot of yolks at once, and that's, I think, the concern when it comes to eating eggs and cholesterol, because that's really what we're talking about. Now, no matter what, eggs do provide a substantial amount of cholesterol in one yolk. You get almost your entire day's worth. Now it's gonna vary between what type of egg you have here. I have an omega-3 one here. This one is just under 200 milligrams of cholesterol, whereas some of the other ones out there are more like 215. So for somebody with a history of diabetes or heart problems, we don't want them to exceed 200 milligrams a day. But for a healthy individual that doesn't have any of these ailments, we can have an egg a day and be fine with that.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, 1 egg a day, good for the heart, kind of like apple away, keep the doctor away.
Right, right.
Okay.
Exactly. So,
Carbohydrates.
our third one here, carbohydrates. Carbohydrates make you fat. I hear this one a lot. Okay.
No carbohydrates.
And really, there's a lot of shades of gray here, because the main issue with carbohydrates making you fat is that our portions have become enormous today. So I've got here mini bagels and what we see as regular bagels today. These mini bagels are what we used to eat years and years ago, and this would be the equivalent of eating 2 slices of bread.
I cannot believe this.
Right, and unfortunately we refer to them as mini now.
Mini,
right? So these might be a snack to somebody, okay?
But it's more than a snack.
Yeah, it's 2 slices of bread, right?
Goodness.
Whereas now this is our regular size bagel, and this is the equivalent of 3 or 4 slices of bread.
Oh my
So, and a lot of
word.
people do eat them this way. So unfortunately, we're eating a lot more. And if we're eating a lot more, and we're also factoring in things like butter or full fat cream cheese and so on, or maybe, that Alfredo sauce on your pasta, then we're really talking about fat and refined carbs, the over-enlarged portion, lack of exercise, so many different factors here are affecting your weight. If you exceed any types of food fuels, protein, fat, whatever, in excess, and you're not burning them off, you're gonna increase your weight.
So we should probably seek out some healthy carbs that probably may not be.
So these are your whole grain options. Whole grain, smaller portions. That's what we're looking at.
Any last words?
Any last words is, if something sounds a little too outrageous, investigate it, ask questions. talk to people, find out?
Well, this is just a couple of myths that we've touched on. We are going to do a continuation later in the month, or throughout the Live Healthy, maybe next month as well, because I think we have a lot more that we have not touched on. I have a couple more
absolutely,
that I want to ask you about, but we're not going to give it all away today.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, everyone, don't go away. More Daybreak coming up after the break. Stay with us.
Live Healthy is brought to you by Kirk Supermarket and Pharmacy.